Today we're going to be checking out the Phantom Lord solos from Metallica's Kill 'Em All. Are you ready? The first solo part in Phantom Lord is not actually a solo. Look at you, aren't you special? Let's check this out, okay? So, before we even learn this lick, okay, and it happens right after the first chorus in the song, we need to learn the scale. Let's learn a scale before we even bother doing any kind of licks, okay? Just bear with me here. So we're going to learn a scale called the E Mixolydian scale, okay? And the E Mixolydian scale is comprised of a major scale with a flatted seventh. So let's check that out. So we have E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, and E. Now typically in an E major scale you would have a D sharp in there, but in this case we're not doing that. Okay, so the lick in the actual song goes like this. Ready? So basically we're just doing a E Mixolydian descending scale pattern, just like I explained before, and we're going like this. So let's break down that first lick. So we start off with 3 consecutive pull-offs and 1 pick note, making a 4-note sequence. And that's what this lick is based off of. 4-note sequences, okay? So here we're starting at the 12th fret of the high E, and we're going pull off, pick. The next part is going to be 1 pull off from the 10th to the 9th on the E, and then 2 picks on the 12th and the 10th of the B. Okay, so now the next part we're going to start on the 9th fret of the high E, and we're going to pick every single one of these notes. So, starting from here, pick, 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 and then finally, to end it off, we're going to come back up to the 12th fret of the B string and go, and down to the root note. So we're going to go like this in total. Okay, so pay special attention where the picking is and where the pull-offs are, and we won't have any kind of problems with that. So just like the first section, this guitar lick is left completely by itself to shine. So here we go. So here it is. And that's it. Okay? So let's take a slower look at that. So we're all the way up at the 22nd fret of the high E string, and we're doing a down pick, double pull off from 22nd, 20th to 17, okay? And then after that we're going to hit the 20th fret of the B string in between, and then do a down up to the 17th fret of the high E. And then we're going to repeat that 4 times exactly, right? And as long as you keep that sort of fluttery kind of motion going, actually no, it's not a flutter, it's a gallop. Alright, so check that out. So we're going down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. As long as you can figure out how easy the right hand is, you're not going to have any problems. That's how simple it is when you break it down to the basic fundamental root of what we're doing. So keep that in mind, and I suggest visiting your local farm for some inspiration. So after we're done with our fluttery gallops, we head into a high bend section in a completely different key. Well, Not really a different key, but a different position on the guitar anyway. So just like a lot of the other songs we've been going over throughout this series, the guitar solos typically use the root position scale. So this would, in this case, it would be E minor, and going a fifth above or a fourth below for the B minor. And that's where we wind up with these high bends. So let's check it out a little more in detail. So we go with, so we hit two 22nd fret bends all the way up, and then we do it again. So we go, then a preliminary pull off, so as long as you can get those notes in order. So bend, 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 pull off, and then pick, pull off, bend, pick, pull off, pick, right? And then you do something very similar in the E minor position, like such. Okay, so it's very similar to the other part, but we're going to go like this. Bend, pull off, bend, pull off. You do that part twice, and then you do that twice, and then bend, 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 bend. So 4 bendy bends, right? Just like you're riding a bucking bronco, as if you don't know what I'm talking about. So let's take a look at this slowly. So the second section might actually be one of the hardest Metallica licks on the album. They're probably one of the hardest licks on the entire album. So what's interesting about this lick is it actually mixes the minor and the major scale together. And I'll show you how. So basically when we start with this first part, we're hitting this G natural within there. That's the minor third. So that indicates we're in the key of E minor. And we go through a thirds pattern from that point on. Right? In thirds. And then we do another pull off coming off of here. So it kind of just seems like we're in an E Dorian mode because of what's going on here. So we have the G natural at the 15th fret and a C sharp at the 14th fret of the B. Then we come back up, scale back down, and then we hit this G sharp. Right? G sharp to A. Now, obviously this wasn't done intentionally, but it's pretty cool that he's mixing together the minor scale and the major scale as such. So you got the minor third up here and the major third down here. Okay, and then afterward we're doing this triplet pull-off kind of thing. So I'm starting like that, from the 16th to the 14th to the 13th, and then pulling off from the 14th to the 13th and sliding down to the 11th, taking a slight break on the 13th fret of the G with my ring, and then we're going like this, pulling off from 11 to 9, 8th on the G. Now that lick right there is indicative of a B major because we have the D sharp here. And we're doing kind of a sus4 type of action. Right? Going from the D sharp to the E, back down to the D sharp, and then to the B, which would be the root, and then the F sharp, which is the fifth. Alright, so that's kind of like this. That almost sounds like something that would be in a classical composition, doesn't it? Okay, we round off this section with something completely unrelated. we're going to a B minor pentatonic scale with a very familiar old friend, but with a twist at the end. So the familiar old friend is this. Okay, so we've heard that from prior songs, where we're sliding into the root, and then sliding again. So, okay, and then we're coming back up. We're doing a pull off from here. So. And then at the very tail end of this, we're going with a full step bend at the 9th fret, and we're tapping at the 17th fret of the G, and then releasing like that. When you do the tap at the G, you have to keep the bend up. You have to keep the bend up. Otherwise, you're not going to get that sound. Now the cool thing about this is the tap, it makes it sound completely different. It gives it a completely different timbre than when you would hear that in other sort of classic interpretations. Like, usually I would think of that as something like this. Right? At the 10th fret of the E instead. But instead, we're tapping it at the 17th fret of the G. So that's just a kind of cool replacement for that. And I think that was part of the evolution of guitar in the 1980s, where finger tapping was becoming far more prevalent. The next section features a prominent tapping section, probably the first prominent tapping section that exists within Metallica's catalog. So let's take a look at that. So it starts off with a pickup on the 12th fret of the E string, and then we're doing this pattern. We're actually taking the edge of our pick and putting it right onto the string to hit the 19th fret of the E string, and then doing a pull, well, a tap pull onto the 15th fret of the E, and then a pull off to the 12th fret of the E. So that's the main pattern, and you're continuing that up to the 20th fret and then to the 22nd fret. Okay? So we're basically doing this in a sextuplet sort of pattern, which means 6 notes per every beat. So you have to make sure that your right hand pick is moving as fast as possible. So let's take a look at the operative notes here. So we're going from 19, which is an E minor triad, right? B, G, E, E minor triad. And then we're going to this 20th fret. That's indicative of a C major triad. So that's a C major triad. So you got E minor, C major, and this, which just adds the D on top of the C triad, which makes it kind of like a C add 9 or an E minor 7, whichever one you want to call it. So we're going 19, 20, 22, 20, and then going a little bit faster with the same thing, and then we're going between 19 and 20. So you might want to go a little faster toward the end to fit all the notes in there. So the last section of the first solo starts off with an E minor pentatonic, bluesy kind of thing. Pretty generic, honestly. You're starting off with this 15th fret bend on the B to the 12th on the E, with a pull off from the 15th to the E, right? So it's pretty easy stuff. So 15, and then the pull off. So we go. You do that twice. Then you pull off from the 15 to the 12 on the B. And then you do that little bendy thing on the G. Come here. Pull off from 14 to 12 on the G. And then do that double pick. So. Right? So we've seen that a lot of times as well. And then we do a pull off from 14 to 12. And then we go down. All the way down to the root note of that E minor scale. So. All 16th notes as well, right? So 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and. So just make sure that you understand that if you play 4 notes in every beat at that tempo, right? 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and, you'll be able to get through that. And the next section kind of teases at the earlier section, the earlier B minor section that we were looking at, except it starts off exactly the same. So we played that lick earlier in the song, so as long as you were paying attention, you'll know how to do that. And then we go to the root. So it's playing around with that octave of the B minor pentatonic scale. And then doing a full step bend on the 9th fret with a release to a pull off to the 7, and then joining the harmony with the other members of the band, which in the earlier episode I relayed the fact that James Hetfield is playing the 3rd harmony, Cliff is playing the root, and right now Kirk, joining in at the last moment, is playing the 5th and the 4th. Section 1 of Solo 2 is another sort of generic E minor pentatonic scale. I think Kirk probably lost some of his creative energy during this session, during this particular song, but that's okay. That's neither here nor there. Well, actually, it's there. It's not going to be here. But anyway, so we're starting off with this little thing, 15th fret to the 12th, and then we're doing this. All right, so it's a pull off to a double pick, and then a pull off, pull off. So, and then we're going to do a double 14, 12, 15. Bend, pick, pull off. And then another pull off. Back down. Okay, so. So in between that, we're going to be doing another one of these. But then we're going to come all the way down to the root note, into the minor 3rd, and then 14, 12 it, till the cows come home. So this section reminds me a lot of a swarm of wasps attacking your head or attacking your grandma or something like that. Something terrible, something you never want to happen. But if you think of that, then you'll have a much easier time playing this. Just think of a swarm of wasps attacking your body, your entire body. You know, you're trying to sit at the park bench and you're trying to eat a sandwich, trying to eat a bologna sandwich that your Grammy made for you. You open it up, you start eating, and all of a sudden a swarm of wasps come and just start biting every single inch of your body. Well, that's exactly what this is. So let's unpack that a little bit. Now, it's actually harder to play this lick slow than it is quickly. All right? So let's take a look. So we're going like this. We're going to start with the open E, just completely spastically tremolo picking all through the whole thing. So you're starting off with an open E, going to the 22nd fret of the E string. So, and you're going to do that 3 main times. And then, as soon as you're done doing that, you're going to come down to the 17th fret and just do this sort of chaotic flutter of chromatic scales coming down with the ring, middle, and pointer fingers. So, okay, so that's the first measure. The second measure is just coming back and doing the open 22nd one more time, and then you're going to do the flutters for the rest of the measure. And then kind of clumsily end it with whatever the hell you want. That's really all you got to do. So this lick is another generic E minor pentatonic type of thing in the 12th fret position. So we're starting off with a bend on the 15th fret with picking on the 12th fret of the E string. Just like that. And then we're going to do a double pull-off sequence from the 15th of the E to the 12th. Okay? And then coming down. So, as long as you keep that 16th note rhythm going the entire time, the momentum will never stop, and, you know, it'll sound interesting. And that's the great thing about a lot of these solos on this album, is that, I mean, it's such a what's the word I'm looking for?
Today, Junior!
It's such a youthful album in the fact that you can tell that Kirk Hammett was just kind of experimenting with all these different things that he's learned, these scale patterns that he's learned. And the 16th note thing is really just indicative of the fact that, well, you know, he only had a limited amount of things in his arsenal, and he was trying to be as creative as possible with them. Now, unfortunately, on this album, he kind of falls flat a little bit, because obviously later on he fucking nails it. But that's sort of the idea. I mean, the 16th note patterns are definitely something to get used to. So, just understanding when you start ripping, and then when you stop ripping. When you start ripping, you can't be dipping. When you stop ripping, you can take the dip. But while you're ripping, you can't be ripping and dipping at the same time, alright? So no room for ripping and dipping until you get to the end of the whole thing, right?
Am I done ripping and dipping?
So after kind of going through that series of more milquetoast variations, we actually get into a more interesting part. So here's the next section. Okay, so basically all we're doing there is this repetitive pattern starting on the 14th fret of the G, picking at the 12th of the B, pulling off from the 15th to the 12th, and then pulling off from the 17th and the 12th right after that. And you repeat that. Okay, so we go like this. So just like with a lot of earlier parts and installments in this series, I explain that Counting is your best friend. Just count through. How many times do I do that 15, 17 pull-off, right? So let's check out how many times we do that. So we go like this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.
What you talking about, Luke?
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And at the end, you add a double pick to seal the deal. So the last part is just another sort of generic pattern, but we're going to go through it anyway. Okay, so it starts off like this. And that's the basic rhythm to it. All 16th notes until the very end of the sequence. So we're starting off with the 15th fret of the high E string with this sort of double pull-off type of thing. Bendy, pull-off. And then here we're extending back to the 14th fret of the G using our ring finger as a little bar. And then double pick on the 12, pull-off, all the way down. Here we're going to hit our first 8th note at the 10th fret of the A string. And then we go and a 1, right? So 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. So obviously counting that out could be really difficult when you're playing that quickly, but the idea is not necessarily to count when you're moving that fast, it's to feel it out. But remember, in order to feel something out, you have to understand it intellectually.